It's America's favorite topic, racism. I talk about it pretty bluntly and boldly because I want to show that that I'm observing it in my culture, but I will not bow down to the idea that skin color is a moral attribute, good or bad. You get nothing. So we're going to go into this whole discussion on Joy Reid, black woman, bald black woman, giant zombie-eyed, crazy black woman, got fired from MSNBC. And of course, they're going to see racism. That's their job. But especially, here's Rachel Maddow.
7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12. And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid.
Well, you're the only one, or she'd be keeping her job. I'm 58 years old, and no one's crying tears for anytime I've lost a comic book job or an animation job. You know what? People who work, you lose jobs sometimes. No one has a right. I do not have a right to my job. I have a right to work somewhere. I'm going to work somewhere. Something's going to open up. But the idea that Joy Reid has a right to her demands of MSNBC and to make millions of dollars on a show that is losing money. MSNBC's views are down 58% since the election. That means they don't get advertisers. They're not on cable packages. They've been spun off by NBC with their own side company just so they don't damage the bottom line of NBC Universal. So your business is a disaster. It's not working. That's what's happening. Now, it's not because Joy Reid is black. I mean, she might have gotten the job because she's black. Maybe she got fired because she's black. That's going to be the theme. If you claim someone was fired because they were black, maybe they were only hired because they were black. That has to be considered both ways, just to be fair.
I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that, but that's what I think. I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows.
Oh, it's the non-white hosts. Okay, now we're going to get into the race thing. Did their skin color have to do with their being fired? Did their skin color? There are two non-white hosts. Non-white. I like being in a category of, they're just like, whatever you are. You might be Indian, you might be Chinese, you might be Japanese, you might be black, but you're non-white. I get to be blanketed in non-white.
This is Katie Fang on The Weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible.
Oh, it's indefensible. I just want to let MSNBC know that this is your reward for doing DEI, for being politically correct, for being the flagship of loopy Democrat, the craziest anti-white, pro-black, pro-whatever race there is, pro-minority. I mean, they carried the flag. They were so Black Lives Matter, they almost changed the name of the network to George Floyd after BLM riots. The MSNBC did everything by the book of political correctness and race baiting. And you get rid of Joy Reid, and Rachel Maddow, white, liberal, elite woman, calls you racist. You, MSNBC. You look what she's accusing you of. Joy Reid is a total professional, should be totally qualified for her job, but because you, MSNBC, hate her skin color, you fired her. If she was white, she'd still have her job, MSNBC. This is what you get. By the way, to my audience, this is what all of us get. Forever bowing down to a pagan religion. You'll still be canceled by that religion. You can do the pro-gay agenda. You can do the pro-racist agenda. You can do global warming. You move one molecule to the right or to the left from those very narrow confines, and you will be called out as anti-climate change activist, terrible for the environment. You'll be called a homophobe if you oppose trans, anything to the end of all being, transing babies, if you're against it. They go, we know why, you're a homophobe. We just did that video on Bill Maher. He said, if I'm against every aspect of transing, I'm going to be called a homophobe and an ally of Trump and an ally of white Christians. Do you see how this works? So all of this is cultural BS and a giant cultural lie. I just want to notice MSNBC, I agree with Rachel Maddow that you are the most racist network ever.
I do not defend it.
Rachel Maddow is upset that two of her co-hosts are losing their job who are people of color. You know, I could be wrong, but I see something on screen. I see white people. Rachel Maddow, you could give up your job. Why don't you give up your position? You're a white woman. Give it up to a minority. No, she ain't doing that. She's like, Joy Reid, I feel for you. You're the number one inspiration of my life. But I don't feel for you that much. Goodbye. Have fun making fries at McDonald's. Now, just in case you think I'm the only one that thinks MSNBC is racist, forgotten MSNBC talent, long forgotten, Keith Olbermann. Keith Olbermann accuses MSNBC of racist purge. Oh my gosh. After Joy Reid's show canceled, you'd think it was done by Musk. Look, that's an Adolfian haircut, if I ever saw one. Look at this. What a lunatic. Remember, he used to be on MSNBC primetime. Keith Olbermann has accused his former network, MSNBC, of a racist purge after cancellation of Joy Reid's primetime show. I just want everyone to know, MSNBC conducts racist purges of all the networks in the world. That's like calling BET racist, the Black Entertainment Network. In a series of X-posts, Olbermann took issue with the ouster of Reid. Why is Keith Olbermann still on X? Shouldn't he be on Blue Sky by now? As well as shows from Jonathan Capehart, Alex Wagner, Katie Fang, and Ayman Mohel-Dean. You say some of these names, I just said Ayman Mohel-Dean and the furniture started floating around the room. Olbermann, who hosted an MSNBC show from 2003 to 2011, that was a very long 8 years, called the cancellations, quote, so brutally racist, you would think Elon Musk did it. The changes are part of a larger restructuring at the network to be more white and to be less black and to be more racist. This is the new MSNBC. Now 5 different anchors of color dismissed, canceled. Not that anyone's keeping track. An MSNBC purge so brutally racist it's make you think it was done by Musk, Joy Reid, Wagner. There they are. Yes, I guess MSNBC really is going full MAGA. Really is going full. Elon Musk is so just setting up at MSNBC and so influential. Now, that's not the only story I have for you regarding race. This gets way more painful. Okay, this is this is General Charles Q. Brown, sometimes CQ Brown, Jr. said the Air Force is racist and needs to be transformed. Now, this is a Trump appointment, and he just canned this 4-star general. Look at him. We all know why Trump canned him.
They get it. And I think it's, in some cases, it may have been a blind spot.
Now, this is him right after George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter riots, where he's calling the Air Force racist.
Force, where we weren't really paying attention to it. I think the beauty of, as tragic as George Floyd's death is, and the other events that surround that, the fact we're taking a hard look at ourselves. And I think it's opened some eyes to some of our airmen who were just, they just weren't, they were unconscious to it in some aspect.
I'm unconscious to my racism. All of those, how dare you say that of our men in uniform that you're supposed to lead and you're obsessed with race?
Let's move to extremism. The Pentagon's finalizing a report right now that will go into extremism in the ranks and also among veterans and what the military can do about it. And part of that is defining the problem.
This is Joe Biden's Pentagon, what they were obsessed with under Lloyd Austin, all those losers, Mark Milley, all those losers, get them out.
Defining what is extremism. How important do you think it is that the military decide that members of white supremacist groups and other extremist organizations are banned from being in the military?
Now remember what they call white supremacist groups. That would be any Trump supporter is what they called white. Remember, they're obsessed with white supremacy. I've never met one, never found a white supremacist group. And that's like the number one military lookout. It is an indictment. It is an accusation by the military to claim that there's so many white supremacists that we have to find them, that they're a real problem in the military, which they're not. It's ridiculous.
That don't, live to our core values of integrity, service, and excellence. Those that don't stand up and hold themselves to the oath of office they take to the Constitution, those are the ones that we don't need in our military.
Last year that found across the board consistently over time, black airmen disproportionately negatively affected when it comes to promotion rates, development, leadership opportunities, and on punishment. The review found enlisted black service members 74% more likely to receive non-judicial punishment, 60% more likely to face court martials.
The 60% that lost their job, that got court-martialed, you have to ask yourself, maybe they didn't live up to the military code of conduct. Maybe that's why they got court-martialed. Because that General Brown was implying that white supremacists, if you don't live up to the code of conduct, you don't need to be in this military. Well, maybe all these guys, maybe all these blacks, which is just horrifying for them to even think about. Because remember, the implication is if these guys were not rightly court-martialed, that this 60% higher chance of blacks being court-martialed, it's only because of their skin color. That is, they were living to the code of conduct. They were doing everything right, according to Brown. And it was the racism that got them court-martialed. They only got court-martialed because of their brown skin. That's how racist the Air Force is, according to General Charles Brown. They're so racist that these men were upstanding, living, doing their best, living the code of conduct, and that's why they got court-martialed. And then you have to go out and look at all these white guys and go, we need to find some racists among them, because if they don't live up to the code of conduct, they have to be fired. They have to be court-martialed. They have to be drummed out of the Corps. Fine. This is the Air Force. This is under Lloyd Austin. This is under all of the Pentagon. Biden's Pentagon. This is how it ran. Now remember, General Brown was an appointment of Donald Trump. And now they're all saying that he only got canned because he's black. Well, did you ever think that maybe he only got hired because he's black? Maybe the only reason why he got that appointment was because of his skin color. And yes, now because of his skin color, he got canned. No, of course that's not true. He was out pushing all this DEI stuff and all this Black Lives Matter, dividing ranks by race in our military that's supposed to be united and lethal. And then he gets canned. That's why. And just to prove that Trump is not being political about it, he's even going into his own appointments. He's not just going through all of Biden's appointments and saying, can him, can him, can him. Trump looks at his own appointment and goes, that guy, I appointed that guy. I made a mistake. Get him out. That's merit. That is based on merit. And now here's another cool learning moment that I really enjoyed from Greta Van Susteren. This is on Twitter. I don't enjoy someone losing a job, but when I got fired from MSNBC, Joy Reid liked the tweet of my firing announcement. That is, she liked that she was fired. I hope the experience of being fired humbles her and she learns from it. I learned from my firing. That's good wisdom. Now here's Jack Posobiec over on Twitter also. He makes a pretty cool point. First down here is fired, retired, or stepping down. Andrea Mitchell, Nora O'Donnell, Chris Wallace, Hoda Koth, Neil Cavuto, he's a white guy, Alex Wagner, Joy Reid, Chuck Todd, another white guy. I like getting rid of these white guys. Jim Acosta, almost white, and Lester Holt. definitely white. They all lost their jobs or are losing their jobs. Now, here's Jack Posobiec's comment. There's more talk about Trump purges, but there's a massive media purge too. Doge isn't the only one going in and gutting people. The free market is also freely gutting all of these terrible talent, people who shouldn't be hired, people who are not profitable, they're not efficient. They're also being fired. Trump didn't do that. Doge didn't do that. Elon Musk didn't do that. The free market did it. Reality did it. Reality took your job, Joy Reid. Reality came. And all of these people, Neil Cavuto, they're leaving their job or getting golden parachute packages, bye-bye, because you do not need a government to always go in and manage waste. The free market does a pretty good job. And I'm happy with this job. I'm Doug in exile.